years, you know, Suicidal's, the brand, the band, the whole thing has been there through every phase. You've stood the test of time. But I think you kind of just answered that question with those words kind of about, you know, I mean, I could say, you know, how did you guys do it? Yeah. But I think you just kind of killed the philosophy right there with...
I think a lot when my dad always said, he goes, regret lasts forever, think before you do it. And too many times when people are talking like, oh man, I'm really messed up and this and that. And if you said, but why'd you do it? Well, I didn't know I was... And I go, no. You can't tell me that you did not know what was going to happen after the results were and stuff. You chose to put the blinders on. You chose to not deal with it then, and now you're in this position and stuff. And it's a lot easier to deal with something beforehand than afterwards, you know. And I think that's one of the things is, you know, when I was young, long before I was in a band, my dad said, you know, in life you'll never be successful if you don't learn how to say no. And I've said that many times, and but I think it's very valid and very important. And as an example, you know, when you're young, someone says, "Oh man, come on, let's do that," and you're like, "No, that's not a no. That's like, right. Oh, I'm scared, this and that. Oh, come on, do it." My dad always said something happening, and you go, "No," and you're like, "Oh, come on." No, it's not gonna happen. And you know, didn't have to yell, scream, this or that, and they can, you know, sometimes confrontate people. Oh, well, that's off everything. He goes, "You know what? I have my reasons about it. I'll be happy to talk to you. If you cannot understand that, that's not my problem. That's your fault. If you can't deal with that, you want to take it another level, then we will." Yeah. But the answer's not going to change. Right. I know what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. And I think that's the whole thing. And he goes, you know, there's a person, you know, in the street, you hear him yelling crazy here. Someone comes up to you, "I'll fucking kill you." And you laugh. But there's that person that walks up to you, whispers in your ear, and go, "Motherfucker, you're dead." Yeah. And they don't have to yell and scream, but you know they mean it and stuff. Yeah. And that's the life. And you have to say no. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because we said no a hell of a lot of times, you know.
Right on, man. So 13.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the new album, man. Yeah. I've been listening to it a bit, and I think you guys hit a lot of different modes on this record and some forms that I haven't heard you guys really hit before. And did you guys find some new inspiration from the guys in the band? Was there new writing techniques, or, you know?
I think a lot is life, and you learn from experiences, and hopefully you the good things you're able to not mimic, but realize why they truly are good and stuff, you know, and how you got there, you know. And for us, you know, this is the 30th anniversary of the first record that we did, and I think for us what we realize is it doesn't matter how many people, especially nowadays when people don't even buy records, but how many people get it when it first comes out. It's how many people are still listening to it 10 or 20 years from now.
Sure.
So rather than doing a record that, you know, we wanted to sound like 2013 or something like that, we want to do a record that for people that aren't born now, 20 years later, you know, they hear it for the first time when they're kids or whatever, they go, "Whoa, that's cool," and they realize that it's different. It's interesting because a lot of times way people ask questions and stuff, they're like, you know, there's a lot of opinions trying to sound like that, you know, try to get that old sound, and I'm like, what's the old sound? You know what I mean? Define it. Bad production?
Shittier gear?
what is that old sound? I mean, to me, I think what you want to do is have something that's timeless, that sounds great. And I think what that is for every old sound there was someone that did something differently, you know. Then there was a lot of followers, and I think for us it's like not sitting in there and trying to, I mean, if it's easy, you know. I have a good understanding of music, and you know, going back when we did a first record, I go, I'm not here to be the king of punks, you know. I know what I'd do if I wanted to be, but I don't want to be, you know. And I'm not, you know, I'm not Mr. Metal guy, this and that. But I wanted to make a metal record that a lot of people do fucking riffs. It's easy to do, and you start by a lot of simple things and stuff, and we didn't want to do that. You know, I literally had people say, "Your record sounds weird. The drums don't sound right." You mean they're not sampled? Is what you're saying, and they're not straight ahead, straight time. And there's a lot of things because you know how everybody does that, and I'm like, how everybody does that? That doesn't stick out in your head as like saying a very stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
We don't want to do what everybody does. We want to do what we like. And you know, I ultimately, when it comes down to music, there's two ways to look at it. It's kind of like food. There's food I like and food that other people don't like, and there's food I don't like that other people do. I wish I liked it. I spent a lot of times at the dinner table, you know, when I was a kid with those peas. Wished I liked them. I don't. Just don't. Know they're good for me. Don't like them. But for me to tell someone something I like, that they should like it is like them telling me I like peas and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a completely different thing. Now music is a whole different thing because it isn't based upon taste. A lot of times it's based on exposure and that kind of stuff, and people limit themselves where, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, you could love pizza but you don't eat it every day, you know,
right.
for 27 years, you know what I mean? It's some people do though, you know, that's their choice. I think that's quite limiting and stuff, but you know, for me, it's like ultimately you go, you know what, we want to make a record that when it's all done, we hear it go, this is a fucking killer record that when I was young, there's only 4 or 5 records that I really heard it and I was like, whoa, what is this? This is different, that I didn't know how to define it. And that's a record when I was young, if I heard this record, I would go, this is fucking something, and I'd have to listen to it some more and stuff, and it would grow on it. And you know, there's a lot of music that's cool to put in there and go from the first song to the end, and it, you know, drive somewhere, and it's kind of just doesn't take you anywhere because you're driving. But I think there's a point where sometimes in life you need music that actually takes you somewhere where you're not planning on going, you know. Yeah,
no, that's super important. I think that there's a loss in the full play mentality of a record.
Well, I think people are doing it. It's no different than a politician or a salesman. They're trying to give what they think people will like. And it's interesting, you know, how people, when they're you know, especially in years back when the records didn't sell and they're doing a new record, they're doing an interview. You know, well, the last record though, it was, you know, the label and this and that, but this one, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And I mean, people, I do interviews and they go, you're crazy, because it's like, I go, I don't think people will like it. I don't care if they like it. I don't expect it. You know, when where I first lived, when the first record came out, I had this big old thing I had framed and all these cutouts from all these little fanzines and stuff, and people would come over and start reading, and they get this confused look on their face. It's talking shit. Everything's talking shit. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why would you put that up? And I go, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's their opinion. I don't believe there's any validity to it. So it's just words, ink on paper, no biggie. And people get so worried about what people think, and you know, you can't. You just got to make sure you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that stands out with you guys totally for the whole time. It's just you're doing your thing, and that's how it's going to be. You know, accept it, love it, or not. Yeah. You know, it's not going to affect your day. Yeah, it's interesting because even you know, as it goes on, people always go, dude, you guys could have been huge if you know, this and that. I'm like, but I sit there and I laugh and I go, that's what every one of the people I know that were in a garage band says. You know what I mean? I don't care. And they go, what? Doesn't that bother you? And I go, nah. Every morning I get up, my kids come in, Daddy, I love you. Looks like a great day. What are we doing? And it's like, that's what's better than that, you know? Nothing better than that. So awesome, man. So what are the plans for next coming years and stuff, man? Are we going to see more touring here in Europe and stuff? Yeah,
this is a start. As I said, we do this one, finish, go straight to Mexico, do the Orion thing, then go to Europe in July and August, then go to South America in August, and then do like 13 dates in France, 13 dates in Australia.
13?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. We just came from Japan. I was on the 13th floor. It always happens. But and then do a second leg in the States, and doing a tour in Europe in early next year. And then I told them just to stop because that's too much and stuff, you know. So, and too difficult on the family. And I think for us, it's important to not just play every day that you get you get a call for, but make sure that it's like, okay, let's take it. Cool, we're good, let's do it. So that, like I said, every show we do, we have the best possibility to give it the best show, and don't have to do like, oh, you should have seen us last night, dude. But tomorrow's gonna be great, you know. So I'm not an excuse guy, you know. You can be throwing up, have diarrhea and this and that, but you know, that's the only chance you have to. And especially now where there's so many of the shows, you have literally families coming and stuff, you know, where you'll have the dad or someone goes, oh, my first show was a suicidal, I'm bringing my kid for the first suicidal, or you know, somebody writing and stuff, I'll finally get to see you and stuff, we're going with my friend's dad, you know, and that both ways. So it's really cool and stuff. And they're like, you know, oh, you're my dad's favorite band and stuff, and he goes, when you're old enough, I'm taking you to see suicidal and stuff. So it's kind of a big responsibility, you know what I mean? And you don't want them want them to sit there and go, wow, my dad wasn't too hip. Yeah.
Right.
What was wrong with my dad? When he gives me advice, I better not listen to him. He liked that band and stuff. So, but it's worked out really well.
Yeah, I think we're pretty lucky to have this generational thing going on with metal and hardcore and punk with the mom and kid and even their kid. I see kids with their dads who are 22 and they have a little metalhead in tow, you know, so it's like these four generations of
we played in San Jose, and there was 4 generations that came. It was the great grandfather, grandfather, the mom, and the kids. They said there was the one holdout generation. But and then we played in Arizona, and there was 27 people that came. They said they were all relatives, and it came from the reservation. And we're saying, like, okay, now wait a second, where I come from, we got what's called play cousins. Are you all literally related, or you play cousins? And they go, no, we're all related. Wow. And that was by far the biggest family. Yeah. And you sit there and you go, wow, that's crazy. And you know, now I haven't been on the tour in the States for a couple of years, but there's a lot of places where you have the families that have come and this and that, where the people have had their kids come up and say, my dad said to tell you thank you. My mom and dad says they thank you. And I'm like, what for? And they go, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. Yeah, because they met at a Suicidal show. And we have like all these pictures of these kids growing up and stuff from that, and to a certain degree where they're little, and now we're like, hey dude, what's up, man? Yeah. You know, kind of like, I'm glad I was cool to you when you were young. So it's cool that there's so many literally, like, you know, family type people and stuff that you know, that stayed with us, and that's a great feeling, because that's the way we were brought up. And so that's probably the biggest proudest thing they are.
Yeah, that's gotta make you feel great. That's gotta be a really cool thing, man.